I think we're ready to start. Please join us, and those that are appearing virtually, thank you for coming and attending tonight. This is our business meeting, and I'm going to do a few remarks and some housekeeping. Welcome to our ACLU of Hawaiʻi annual meeting and Bill of Rights Day celebration. Some housekeeping before we begin. Bathrooms are located in the back through the hallway and to the right. We'll be taking questions at the end of the presentation, so please hold your questions until then. For those tuning in on live and on Facebook, please remain mute until the end, and then when we open our question and answer, then you can keep track of your questions and ask them then. Let me first of all introduce myself. I am the vice president of the local ACLU affiliate. Nita Lopez is in Puerto Rico today, and so she wasn't able to be here. So I'm hosting the meeting for people. Let me introduce some of the board members that are here. Besides myself, Rick Schneider, if you want to hold up your hand, and Kavika Riley, there he is, Jeff Hong behind the post here, and Ibrahim Audi over there in the corner, and Pam Lichty right there. So those are our board members participating tonight, and there may be some on Zoom, although I think Nita is probably long fast asleep by now in Puerto Rico. Okay, so we're going to conclude. This is normally our business meeting, but we do not have quorum to make any decisions at the business meeting. And so we will skip that portion of it and thank our parliamentarian, Jeff Hong, for being available just in case we needed him. So at opening remarks by Scott, do you want to go ahead and run that then? Okay. Thank you for coming tonight.
For the past 14 months, I was privileged serving as executive director of ACLU of Hawaiʻi. Now I became the first an escalator at LAX a couple of weeks ago, an MRI, and now a scheduled surgery on my hand. In 1791, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution of the United States, now known as the Bill of Rights, were ratified. This Friday, December 15th, will mark the 232nd anniversary of that ratification. In 1920, a courageous group of civil libertarians concerned with the increasingly hostile political and social climate formed the American Civil Liberties Union. The rights and liberties protected by that Bill of Rights became the guiding star for this new organization and have guided us for the last 103 years ever since. In 1941, President Franklin Roosevelt declared December 15th to be the Bill of Rights Day. Since 1965, the ACLU has been here in Hawaii, protecting the civil rights and civil liberties of the people of Hawaii. In recognition of that history and the work that the ACLU has done here in our 50th state, tonight we're going to provide some presentations about the work at the ACLU of Hawaii that we have done, that we are doing, and that we will be doing in the near future. There will be time for questions and answers at the end. For those joining online, if you have a question you would like one of the presenters to address, please put it into the chat or comments. I'm pleased to announce that since our last annual meeting in 2022, we have added several new staff to the ACLU of Hawaiʻi team. I'd like to take a few moments to introduce them and the rest of our team. Please acknowledge yourselves in the audience by standing or with a wave as you're able. As I told you, my name is Scott Greenwood, and I'm the Executive Director. I'd like to introduce our Deputy Director, Ryan Leong, our Legal Director, Wookie Kim, our Policy Director, Carrie Ann Shirota, our Operations and Finance Director, Tracy Tokawoka, our Communications Director, Kim Moa, our Development Director, Carmelo Resident, Staff Attorney Taylor Brack, Paralegal George Cordero, Field and Digital Organizer Kylie Akiona, Policy Assistant Josh Frost, Legal Fellow Samantha McNichols, and Legal Extern Kilea Reed. Now I'm going to pass the mic over to our Deputy Director, Ryan, who's going to talk about our campaign priorities and our integrated advocacy approach to our work defending civil rights and civil liberties right here in Hawaii. Ryan?
All right, aloha mai kako. The ACLU is a national organization. There's 54 affiliates from coast to coast in every state, including the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. Of those 54 affiliates, we're the Hawaii affiliate. We represent the entire state as the ACLU of Hawaiʻi. We are proud to be of service to our community. Across the ACLU nationwide network, over 1,700 staff are currently engaged in work on dozens of critical issues. As important as each of these issues are nationally, and often in Hawaii as well, neither affiliate capacity nor the state's political environment allow for such an approach here. We are challenged to work on issues that affect our unique community in the space that we occupy. We believe that we can have a more substantial and long-lasting impact if we focus the bulk of our energy on only a handful of issues at any one time. As a result, the ACLU of Hawaiʻi uses a campaign approach for its work that focuses on three major priorities: decriminalizing poverty, smart justice, and reimagining policing. Our objectives along these three campaigns are highlighted in this slide. As you continue to work on these goals, and as we look forward to what issues will present themselves in the future, I would be remiss to not acknowledge that while victories are won with support from community and allies, it begins with our staff. Of those 1,700 plus staff across the nation, I'm proud to be one of the 12 staff from the ACLU of Hawaiʻi leading the work here. As the staff come up and speak and share with you their work, don't be afraid to show them your aloha and your appreciation. When this work gets tough and days run long, it is a day like today, in front of all of you, in person and joining online, that makes us excited to show up again and again for every next challenge. I'm also excited for you all to hear what our staff have been working on and for them to share their passion and spirit with all of you. So let me end with a personal mahalo from me again. It's an honor to be here and to share space with all of you. And here's our legal team to share their thoughts. Mahalo.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wookie Kim. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the legal director here at the ACLU of Hawaiʻi. We're really excited to share with you some of the issues and matters we've worked on this past year. This year, just like most years, was a whirlwind, and we were very active as a legal program. I'm going to actually provide just a quick overview of the non-litigation and non-courtroom work that we've done. While many of you probably associate the legal program with lawsuits, litigation, and courtrooms, we actually do a significant amount of work outside of the courtroom as well. And so this slide just gives a snapshot of some of the things that we did this past year. One of the things that we did was to try to actually resolve some disputes without litigation. And, typically we do that by sending letters of various kinds, including some that are a little bit more firm and assertive demand letters. And to that end, we sent several demand letters to Maui County and Hawaii County challenging their planned sweeps of houseless encampments. One that was successful and one that was unsuccessful in convincing the municipalities to not go ahead with the sweep. But aside from the letters, we also spend a significant amount of time educating the community and members of the public and stakeholders about the key civil rights issues that we work on. And so related to the criminalization of houselessness, aside from filing a major lawsuit, which Taylor will talk about momentarily, we gave a presentation on decriminalizing houselessness at this year's Homelessness and Housing Solutions Conference. And so this was a really great opportunity because about 500 people were there in the government and nonprofit sectors. And so we were able to share our civil rights concerns that are raised by government interventions around this issue. As another example, we presented on a panel about the impact of the Supreme Court's Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization decision. As many of you know, this was the decision from last term that essentially erased the longstanding right to abortion. So we presented at the UH Law Review Symposium, and the thesis we presented was that medication abortion would be the next key battleground in the post-Dobbs world. And coincidentally, just this morning or just today, to the FDA's authorization of medication abortion. And so we will be watching this lawsuit very, very carefully because it will have direct impact on our pending medication abortion lawsuit. And on the same issue of medication abortion and reproductive freedom, we attended and spoke at a film screening for a documentary called Plan C, which is about the abortion pill landscape here in the United States. And then as a final example, it's the photo sort of in the top center. We had the opportunity to meet with Senator Hirono as part of a roundtable to share not just the affiliates' work, but ACLU's work more broadly to challenge book bans and other forms of censorship in schools. The next sort of, you can go back to the previous slide. Sorry about that. We're also very active in the local legal community. We gave a presentation on civil rights fundamentals at a Federal Bar Association training for local attorneys that were volunteering to do more pro bono work. We also volunteered to play as a witness in a reenactment of the Massey trials. And for those of you who do not know, those trials involved a racially charged incident in 1931 where a wealthy white socialite accused a group of local men of raping and assaulting her. The trial ended in a mistrial, but the socialite's family decided to take matters into their own hands by kidnapping and then murdering Joseph Kahahawai. And a jury found the family members guilty of manslaughter, and they were sentenced to 10 years. But very soon after, the governor commuted their sentence to 1 hour. So this was a really shocking development, but exemplifies how our system doesn't always protect everyone equally or treat everyone equally. As a final example, we gave our Outstanding Pro Bono Award to Jim Davey, who's the founder of All Rise Trial and Appellate, for the tremendous work that he did to write several amicus briefs in police misconduct cases on behalf of our organization. And last but not least, I wanted to share some of what we've been doing on the human resources front. A few months ago, we welcomed our new legal fellow, Samantha McNichols, who's in the back of the room there. She'll share more about herself shortly, but all I'll say is that we're very excited to have her on board. Separately, we hosted 2 fantastic summer legal interns from the William S. Richardson School of Law, Kalea Reed and Emily Sarasa. As a note on that, for the first time ever, at least to my knowledge, we decided to hire exclusively from the William S. Richardson School of Law, and we did so by participating in the on-campus interview program. And Kalea had such a great summer with us that she actually decided to tack on additional time through a 4-credit externship this fall. We're about to begin the hiring process for summer 2024 and fall 2024, and we're excited to see what that will bring as far as expanding our program. And so with your continued support, we'll keep doing what we can to protect and expand civil rights for everyone here in Hawaii. And so thank you, and I will now pass it to Taylor.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Brack. I'm the staff attorney here at the ACLU of Hawaii, and I'd like to share with you some information about 2 of our cases that are meant to change the way that our municipal governments in the state of Hawaii interact with people who are houseless. It is our hope that houseless people, instead of being spoken of and treated as a problem, they are instead embraced as part of the solution. So our first case that I want to discuss is Mahelona versus City and County of Honolulu. This is a class action lawsuit filed earlier this year in July 2023, and it asserts the rights of houseless people to exist in public spaces with their belongings without being criminalized or subjected to sweeps. This litigation confronts the wide web of ordinances targeting houseless people who are engaging in innocent acts of survival in public. In line with successful challenges to similar practices in other large cities, this complaint asserts that the county subjects houseless people to cruel or unusual punishment whenever it cites, arrests, or sweeps someone simply for being a person who does not have access to adequate shelter. Other legal claims included in this lawsuit are that these particular ordinances violate houseless people's fundamental right of free movement. These ordinances constitute a state-created danger, and they are void for being vague and overbroad. With this particular lawsuit, we were very intentional about filing in state court and suing under state constitutional law. You may or may not know that there is a rich tradition of protecting civil liberties in this particular context. I'm speaking, of course, about the law of the splintered paddle that was the law of the land under King Kamehameha. Our second case I'd like to share with you is Davis versus Michael P. Victorino, who was the mayor of Maui at that time. This particular case was filed in the year 2021. It challenges the illegal seizure and destruction of people's personal belongings in a sweep of the Kanaha Beach Park. The plaintiffs in this case were some of the 60 people living at Pu'uhonua o Kanaha encampment when the sweep occurred. Lost to the sweep were 54 vehicles and 58 tons of personal property that had been seized, discarded, or otherwise impounded. This lawsuit asserts the constitutional due process rights of people who have been deprived of their property and forcibly removed from their homes. The county has consistently maintained that houseless people living on public property in violation of municipal ordinances cannot assert those rights. But we disagree. Fundamental fairness required by the Constitution dictates that before, during, and after a planned sweep, the county has certain obligations to the people impacted by the sweep. We're talking about the rights to adequate prior notice of the sweep, a fair opportunity to be heard before the sweep, and a fair opportunity to recover whatever was lost after the sweep. There is no legal justification for the county to ignore those obligations. One piece of information I'd like to share with you, we will be arguing this particular matter before the Supreme Court, which is right across the street from here. And this argument will take place tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. And we would love to have you join and to observe the arguments. And that's all I have for you tonight. I will pass the mic to George Cordero.
Good evening, folks. I'm George Cordero, pronouns he, him, and I'm the paralegal for the ACLU of Hawaiʻi. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight personally, and hello in the old interwebs. Thank you for coming. For my segment, I just wanted to highlight one of our landmark cases that recently settled and give a quick spotlight to one of our young, brave clients who is having a momentous year. As you may already know, the ACLU of Hawaiʻi has been on a long-standing federal lawsuit involving gender equity in one of Hawaii's largest public schools. I am very proud to say that as of earlier this October, that we have reached a settlement agreement to ensure that girls at Campbell have the same athletic opportunities, access, treatment, and benefits in sports as opposed to their male counterparts. This Title IX civil rights class action lawsuit was initially brought against the Hawaii Department of Education, the Oahu Interscholastic Association, exactly 5 years ago in December 2018, back when I had short hair. The plaintiffs, a group of courageous female athletes, brought the case on behalf of a class of current and future students after their efforts to resolve the inequities were left ignored. The settlement agreement includes the hiring of an independent evaluator who will ensure equivalent sports offerings, a 7-year compliance plan for monitoring equity, gender equity training for all staff, a hotline or online complaint process, and retaliation protections for those who do express their concerns. I do want to note that the judge still needs to finally approve the settlement, but happy to say that it's been approved on a preliminary basis. This all would not have been possible without the tenacity of our young, brave clients and the work of our co-counsel, Legal Aid at Work, and Simpson, Thatcher, and Bartlett. I also want to acknowledge one of our very own lead plaintiffs, Ashley Badis, who won the Billie Jean King Youth Leadership Award at the ESPYs earlier this summer. This may or may not have been why her face and name ring familiar. Mama, we made it. We applaud her for her bravery and for speaking up for what she believed in, and wish her the best of luck on her current academic journey. Thank you. I would like to bring up Samantha.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha. I'm the legal fellow here, and I'm really grateful to be here with you tonight. This year, we continued full steam ahead in our litigation on Hall, which is featured on the slide. This is a police misconduct case. To briefly recap the circumstances at a high level, our client called 911 seeking police assistance regarding her former employer, but was repeatedly prevented from filing a police report, among other alleged constitutional violations, after the former employer's business partner was the HPD officer to respond to the scene. Earlier this year, we argued in the Ninth Circuit, defending the district court's denial of qualified immunity, and secured a ruling that allowed our equal protection claim against the sergeant who was involved to move forward. In the course of litigation, we have continued to brief many important issues, including issues related to qualified immunity and access to records. We're actively engaged in discovery right now and preparing for trial, which is scheduled for October of next year, 2024. I'll keep it short and sweet. That concludes the legal department's presentation tonight. I want to thank you all for your time. Mahalo, and I will hand it over to the policy department.
Aloha kako. My name is Carrie Ann Shirota. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as the policy director. As members of the ACLU, you know, as we do, that the battle for justice and equality is never permanently won. Civil rights and liberties are under attack across the United States, as well as threats and infringements right here in Hawaii. As Dr. Honani K. Trask reminds us, resistance is its own reward. At the ACLU of Hawaiʻi, we will not remain silent, nor will we give in to despair. In 2023, the policy team, I want to highlight, which consisted of George Cordero, who has since transitioned to the legal team, Josh Frost, our newest policy member, and I, along with our entire team, because it takes the village to put out communications, to organize, the legal team to look over legislation, to advance public policies that enhances, protects civil rights and liberties, and also to resist those proposed policies that would diminish these civil rights and liberties that are enshrined in our federal and state constitutions, and particularly laws proposed that would harm individuals belonging to under-resourced communities that are often marginalized, more likely to be subjected to surveillance, policing, and criminalization. Next slide, please. Oh, this is it. Oh, if we can go back once. So this is a highlight of our legislative wrap-up. For those of you that are interested in more details of what we worked on, this report is available online, but we'd like to highlight some of the victories that we secured. But first, some perspective. In 2023, the state legislature, comprised of 76 lawmakers, introduced 3,132 bills. Of those bills introduced, 274 were approved by the governor, 12 were vetoed. This means that less than 10% of all bills become law. In the area of abortion and reproductive rights, the overturning of Roe versus Wade led to an avalanche of abortion bans aimed at eliminating abortion care across the country. In Hawaii, we did the opposite. We passed a law expanding access to abortion care and including Hawaii as a sanctuary state. In terms of clemency and expungement, we helped to pass HCR 51, a cannabis clemency project, and SB 410, and this gives people opportunities to move beyond their criminal records, to take care of themselves and their families. In the area of policing reform, we successfully helped to pass two bills, SB 151 and SB 372, both relating to policing use of force and duty to intervene. And for perspective, one of our partners is NYU Policing Project. They assist states in enacting policy reforms nationally, and they said that we were the only jurisdiction that successfully passed new laws relating to use of force this past year. In terms of LGBTQ rights, this law was passed, HB 485, which provides for the replacement of marriage certificates for individuals who have changed their gender, sex, and if applicable, name. Our state had passed laws in the areas for birth certificates, driver's license, but there was no mechanism to do so in terms of marriage certificates. This was a necessary legal change and a matter of dignity and respect. Pay equity transparency, SB 1057 was passed. This will help to ensure that there's more pay equity, particularly as it impacts oftentimes women and people of color. Debts in custody reporting. For years, the Department of Public Safety refused to release information relating to debts in custody. We and others advocated for the responsible reporting of custody debts as essential to promoting transparency and accountability, and ideally, less to no debts in our jails and prisons. This successfully passed after years of advocacy. And then there's always bad bills. I would like to highlight one in particular that we helped to push back and defeat, HB 1154 relating to guardianships. This would have amended the Uniform Probate Code to allow courts to appoint emergency guardians for respondents who reside in psychiatric facilities, hospitals, and houseless shelters. As drafted, the language of this bill severely infringed on an individual's liberty interests, opening the possibility that merely entering a hospital or emergency shelter could subject the person to emergency guardianship, even in cases where that individual is fully capable of making decisions for themselves and where there is no risk of harm to that individual's health, safety, or welfare, as the current legal standard applies. Next slide, please. So Budget Justice 101. Why does the ACLU care about government budgets and why all of us should? Budgets reflect our societal values. By examining the budget at the state level, the local level, the federal level, it becomes clear where policymakers' priorities lie. The decision of how to spend money is one of the most impactful policy questions for our elected leaders. This decision determines the extent of our safety net, the accessibility of social programs, and the size and scope of our carceral system. Yet the budgeting process is often opaque, and public participation can be difficult. Instead of adequately funding desperately needed resources like housing, healthcare, quality education, our government continues to overinvest in unjust policing, legal and incarceration systems that disparately criminalizes the poor, houseless, people with disabilities, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, Black, Filipino, and LGBT communities in Hawaii. As part of our efforts to reimagine public safety, we issued a statement called the People's Budget. In an unprecedented event shortly after this was released and rallying, courageous lawmakers voted against the budget. They voiced concerns about the lack of transparency in the budget process, the death of many good bills during the chaotic cattle call and conference committee, and the appropriation of funding for questionable projects. We will continue to advocate for the people's budget that we deserved. I am pleased to report that we contributed to stopping the appropriation of $70 million to build the proposed First Responders Campus. And that's a euphemism for what it really is, Cop City, similar to what's going on in Atlanta, Georgia. Governor Green rightfully decided to veto this project. Next slide, please. Speaking of the governor, we are counting on him to fulfill his campaign promise to use his broad clemency powers, including pardons and commutations, to address injustices within our criminal legal system and to reduce severe overcrowding. In 2023, Representative Capella introduced ATR 51, urging the governor to implement a cannabis clemency program. Representative Tarnes, Senator Rhodes held hearings and passed this important resolution. While passing a bill is hard work, implementing the bill is just as, if not more, challenging. Rather than waiting on the sidelines for implementation, our ACLU of Hawaiʻi team spearheaded efforts to bring state stakeholders who are operating in silos to implement this measure. To date, we've met with the governor's senior policy advisor, Attorney General, the Hawaii Criminal Justice Data Center, and the Criminal Justice Research Institute. With our partners, we're providing technical assistance and sharing specific policy recommendations for the governor to use the power of the pen to effectuate relief for those harmed by the failed war on cannabis. And this particularly impacts the Native Hawaiian community. Our hope is that Governor Green will follow in the footsteps of President Biden, who issued 5,000 pardons, and former Governor Kate Brown of Oregon, who issued over 45,000 pardons for persons convicted of cannabis-related offenses. In doing so, Governor Green, and I hope you're tuning in, will earn the reputation of being a clemency superstar. Next slide, please. And here's a slide just illustrating the power of collaboration. Progress on bills and legislative victories were made possible because of the generosity of our donors who support our policy work and the power of collaboration. We've built relationships with lawmakers to advance policy objectives. We've also cultivated strategic partnerships with organizational allies and maximize our reach by working in coalitions. Notably, I'd like to highlight two coalitions in particular. The Hawaii Abortion Collective, which really took the lead on SB1, our abortion laws expansion, and the Hawaii Alliance for Cannabis Reform Coalition. They have been laying the foundational groundwork for adult use cannabis legalization and to join the ranks of 23 states that have decided to legalize, tax, and regulate cannabis. Last month, the Cannabis Coalition coordinated a breakout session at the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement's Native Hawaiian Convention on Maui, entitled Into the Weeds, the Future of Cannabis in Hawaii. Here in this picture, you'll see featured speakers, including Senator Jared Keohokalole, Council Member Kiani Rollins Fernandez from Maui, Nikos Leverins from Drug Policy Forum of Hawaii, who's here today, so shout out to him, Alika Atai, a native Hawaiian farmer on Maui, and Randy Gons from the Dual Use of Cannabis Task Force. This was an opportunity to discuss the benefits of adult use cannabis based on facts, not fiction. We also expressed our collective commitment to advocate for cannabis legalization that our communities deserve, which at a minimum must include social equity, provisions for expungement and resentencing for those who have been harmed by prohibition on cannabis. Next slide, please. Here's a quick snapshot of ways in which we engage in community education. Advocacy requires tremendous just outreach, talking about the issues, hearing what concerns are from both sides, and shifting narratives, especially in terms of the media. Our policy work requires not only pointing out these constitutional deficiencies of proposed bills, but also proposing solutions driven by data and evidence-based research. And we need to shift narratives by highlighting the stories of people who are impacted by public policies. And this means consulting with the very people who are most impacted by unjust policies and using the collective wisdom to shape more just public policies in Hawaii. And next, what's on the horizon for 2024? You guessed it, cannabis legalization. There will be multiple bills, one of which has been drafted by the Attorney General's office, and others that will have more robust social equity provisions. If any of you are interested in some light nighttime reading, the AG's bill is 297 pages. If you'd like a copy, please let us know. We'll send it to you. We're also going to be advocating for clean slate. And this is the idea that people who have served their debt to society should be able to move forward. They should be able to access jobs, housing, provide for themselves and for their loved ones, and to move forward. This type of bill would automate systems of expunging past criminal legal records after a period of time with no new convictions and expand eligibility for clearance. Pretrial fairness. You've heard us talk many years about bail reform. This is a broader term. We will be at it again, pushing for bail reform changes, but also looking at the front end, having officers issue citations instead of arrests, looking at ways if someone misses a court date because their kid is sick or they're stuck in traffic, instead of issuing a warrant for their arrest, giving them so many days to be able to appear in court, and putting the presumption back where it belongs and the government to prove that a person should be detained versus the opposite, where we're essentially starting from the presumption we're going to detain people and then otherwise we'll let them out. And we need to acknowledge the fact that our jails are severely overcrowded, in large part because we detain people who have not been convicted, haven't had their day in court. And here in Oahu, OCCC, where they're proposing to build a new jail, at last count, the Oversight Commission noted that 75% of the people there are pre-trial detainees, 75%. And so if we implement data-driven solutions, we can decarcerate and we will not need to build new jails and prisons, and we can reinvestment back into our community. And I'd like to highlight, we will continue our work in reimagining public safety and working with our Reimagining Public Safety Coalition and shifting narratives. And last, Change 23 and 24. Some of you may have heard about it, but here, Josh Frost is going to talk a little bit more about it and how you can engage with us to build a more just and equitable Hawaii. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Josh Frost. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the new policy assistant, having been on the job here just a couple of months. Carrie Ann asked me to present on the Change 23 and 24 campaign. In the early years of my political career, I was lucky enough to be one of the founding members of Equality Hawaii, which was at the time the largest LGBTQ rights organization in the state of Hawaii, playing an integral role in the passage of civil unions and marriage equality. and that remains today one of my proudest accomplishments. That's why I'm so excited to be here to help take on the new campaign to undo the wrong that was done in the 90s. This is timely because, frustratingly, we have a US Supreme Court that seems intent on rolling back rights and protections. Indeed, Justice Thomas, in his concurring opinion on Dobbs, included same-sex marriage among several issues that he'd like the court to revisit. While marriage equality isn't imminently in peril in Hawaii, we don't want to take any chances. What's more, in the wake of current events, we believe it is time to remove this vestige of discrimination from our state constitution. For those who are not aware, Article 1, Section 23, the Hawaii State Constitution says, the legislature shall have the power to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples. Next slide, please. Our coalition is working hard to establish internal working structures, like the political and community advisory committees. We are also working to add allies and grow the coalition in positive ways that reach into an array of communities across the islands. Next slide, please. In 1993, the Hawaii State Supreme Court ruled in Bear v. Lewin that refusing to grant marriage licenses to same-sex couples was discriminatory under the state's constitution. The court did not, however, immediately order the state to begin issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Rather, it remanded the case to the trial court and ordered the state to justify its position. After the trial judge rejected the state's justifications for limiting marriage to opposite-sex couples in 1996, the Hawaii State Legislature passed a proposed constitutional amendment during the 1997 session that would override the court's ruling and allow the legislature to ban same-sex marriage. This constitutional amendment appeared on the 1998 general election ballot as Constitutional Amendment number 2. The question that appeared on the ballot for voters was, shall the Constitution of the state of Hawaii be amended to specify that the legislature shall have the power to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples? Sadly, on November 3rd, 1998, Hawaii voters approved the amendment by a vote of 69%. Next slide, please. The Hawaii Constitution lays out steps to amend it. The legislature may propose amendments by adopting the same by a 2/3 vote in each chamber in any given session, or by a simple majority vote in each chamber in 2 sequential sessions. Bills for proposed constitutional amendments are not subject to be vetoed by the governor. Then, in the general election, immediately following the passage of the proposed amendment, the question will be posed to voters to approve or to reject. The Constitution requires a majority of all voters, the Constitution requires a majority vote of all votes cast. This means every ballot. So ballots cast without the question being answered count effectively as no votes. This is going to be a critical part of the role. This point is going to be critical to explain to voters as we move into the summer and fall next year to make sure that they understand the issue. Next slide, please. Sorry. All right. Based on polling conducted by Anthology in August and September of this year, along with voting trends in the 2022 general election, voter engagement strategy is going to focus on informing voters about the question on the ballot, educating voters about the consequences of leaving that question on the ballot blank, voter education, and get out the vote to targeted House districts across the state, as well as general education statewide and get out the vote statewide. Finally, I don't know where I am. Next. Oh, okay. Yeah. Specific mechanisms and tools for voter engagement, education, and get out the vote are still being determined and will be considered and adjusted as necessary on financial, volunteer, and staff capacity. Examples of potential efforts include canvassing and literature drops in targeted districts, sign waving and phone baking to those targeted districts, as well as potential media buys such as radio, social media, digital, etc. Ideally, tracking progress towards the voter goal will take place, but again, that will be subject to capacity. Thank you all for being here, and for those watching online. Mahalo.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Kylie. I use she, they, oya pronouns, and I'm the field and digital organizer. And I'm here to talk about the field organizing department and the critical role that community organizing plays for the affiliate. So what is field's purpose? Community members and activists across the world know that building people power is critical to winning in both the legislature and in the courts. To do this, organizers help to mobilize volunteers to leverage their own networks, and we also center the experiences of and the leadership of directly impacted people who can help non-impacted allies to engage in effective and substantive action. To build support for our campaigns, we worked around the clock doing outreach to supporters, impacted communities, activists, students, professors, partners, and other community members who were inspired to get involved and make their voices heard. We provided public education on our issues through trainings, presentations, calls to action, meetings with community members, and more to equip them with the knowledge, tools, expertise, and confidence needed to demand change. A huge way that we've been able to reach broader and newer audiences, particularly those in younger demographics, is through our digital media platforms, and specifically our primary social media channel where most of our engagement happens is through Instagram. In this slide, you'll see a screenshot of some of our highest performing posts over the past year. We gained hundreds of followers this year, and I'm thankful that we were able to invite new people into our movements for a more equitable Hawaii. These are some of the events, presentations, and outreach opportunities that Field was either able to host, participate in, and or support over the past year. Unfortunately, I don't have time to go over the slide in detail, and I'd probably talk too much if I did, but I did want to highlight some of our most impactful organizing work this past year. We hosted a film screening of the film Plan C, which highlights some of the work of advocates and organizers on the continent to make abortion medication accessible in areas where it's criminalized. The screening was followed by a panel of medical advocates and our legal director, Wookie, who shared about our Chelius case and abortion access in Hawaii. We did this in collaboration with Planned Parenthood Hawaii and Hawaii Women in Filmmaking, and had a huge and genuinely engaged turnout that inspired a couple Punahou students to organize peers at their high school and others and help them find access to abortion in their high schools and in Hawaii. Something else that I'm really proud of is our participation in this year's Hoʻiwai Re-Entry Summit hosted by Going Home Hawaii. This year's summit in Kona followed the first Hoʻiwai summit that we hosted on Oahu last year. And this year, with over 300 people in attendance, we were able to push our campaign priorities to a broader audience. And Carrie Ann and I were able to give a really fun presentation on equity that went really well, and we really look forward to supporting next year's Hoʻiwai partners for next year's summit. Next slide, please. And to bring some Mahu queer joy into this, I also wanted to highlight our participation in this year's Honolulu Pride Parade and Festival. We were overwhelmed by the interest and engagement at our festival booth because of the tie-dyeing activity that we did with our Love Liberates Pride is Protest shirts. And the parade and festival also served as a public launch event to announce the Change 23 campaign and coalition that Josh just highlighted. And mahalo to the Hawaii LGBT Legacy Foundation for creating the opportunity for us to participate. Oh, I didn't know there was a video in there. There's a fun video. I want it to be different, guys. If you couldn't notice by the doodles and the sleigh, because obviously someone had to slay here, and we all did. Finally, this is a photo collage of some of the other work Field was involved in this year. And I really want to thank our staff who's been so supportive of me and this work, and especially with the kāko'o from Indigenous Lay Bestie, who also happens to be my supervisor, Kim Moa. And as the only organizer on staff for most of the past year, the intersectional work of organizing and public education and outreach is something that I really couldn't have done alone. So my deepest mahalo to all of you for being here and being there this past year for the important work and slaying in your own ways. And last but not least, I wanted to have a slide to quickly shout out many of the community partner organizations that we've had the honor of working with this past year. We absolutely cannot do this work alone, and building relationships and being in community with you all as organizations and as individuals is essential to the work of social justice and the fight for a more equitable future for us all. Organizing for people power is essential to dismantling racism and systems of oppression that disproportionately criminalize, incarcerate, and police those most vulnerable in our communities, including Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders, Black, Indigenous, other people of color, queer, disabled, and more folks here in Hawaii. It takes all of us, so we invite you all to join our community in these many impactful ways. Mahalo, everyone.
Okay, Kylie, that's a tough act to follow. Aloha mai kako. My name is Carmela Rasuma. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm genuinely excited to introduce myself as the ACLU of Hawaii's new development director. But before I dive into my portion of the presentation, I just want to take a moment to have everything that we heard from our team sink in. The work I've witnessed in the 8 weeks I've served in this role, and throughout ACLU's long and impactful history, has made me feel very, very humbled to be part of this community. So first, mahalo. Mahalo to our team and our board of directors and the work they've done tirelessly throughout the years. Why am I getting emotional? Oh, I'm so thankful. Mahalo to everyone who joined today, both in person and virtually. I'm waving at the camera. Mahalo to our members and our donors, because you really all make this work possible through your generous donations. Mahalo to our clients and our communities who we partner with to affect this change. So why am I here? Being the director of development means that I have the essential role of sustaining and growing our community of supporters so that we can keep doing this vital work. So many of you, I'm looking around the room, are already involved. But for those of you who aren't, or if you want to level up your impact or slay a little bit more, here are some ways you can take action. So there's a fancy QR code that you could click on here to become a member, or Tracy, our operations director, can help you with that if you are not a member already, or if you need to renew your membership. You can also donate to the ACLU of Hawaiʻi Foundation. As a reminder, we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We don't receive any funding from the government. So our donors are really, really, really important in making all of this work possible. And volunteer with us. As you've seen through this presentation, it takes an entire village to make this work happen. And so volunteer with us. The legislative session is coming up. So we need all hands on deck to really affect change this upcoming year. And so before I hand it off to the Q&A portion of the meeting, I wanted to share a little quick anecdote. I'm also really lucky to be able to do a fair amount of malama aina, or conservation work, which is a fancy way of saying I use a pickaxe and pull out invasive weeds on my spare time. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned from my kumus that's informed by Indigenous practice here in Hawaii is this deep understanding, while this work that we all do and that we're all passionate about can be slow and intentional and come with some short-term setbacks, the impacts can and will be felt for many generations after us. So as a staff person, volunteer, board member, together, we can all add to the ACLU's impact today and for many tomorrows ahead. So again, thank you for being a part of this journey. And I ask all of you to continue to deepen your support and involvement in this work. So this is your chance. Become a member, donate, sign up to volunteer. Let's keep going. Thank you.
Thank you so much, staff, for all of the presentations tonight. It was wonderful, and I know that there are probably some questions coming. So we've got a few minutes to answer questions. If you ask a question, I'll see if I can figure out the right person to answer. And we've got a mic, if we can carry it around if someone wants to raise their hand and ask a question, then we've got a mic. You can speak up and we'll see if we can answer. So, did I see a hand raised in the back? No. Okay. What's the question? The board term limit policy is in a draft form with some proposed bylaws that still need legal review before it goes out to the members to vote on. But there is a term limit in there. Any more questions? Any more in the chat? Okay.
Oh, yeah, I got one.
Okay.
It was, first off, it was great, that everybody came out and, you guys, came out and presented you guys selves very well. Give you guys selves a hand, I just like to give you guys a hand to coming out. You know what? In my experience with, the law, and I'm just a private person, but I'm an avid person, always at court, especially when it have matters of my concern. But more recently I have some very notable at court right now. So looking forward to those wins. But you know what? It encourages me to hear you guys having successes as well, because sometimes a lot of people, get trapped and stuck in the law, just because they don't know, real little simple things, that could save them so much time and effort, so it's good to hear that, not just myself, but others as well as having success with the state of Hawaii and the court system here. Right on, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Pam, you have a question? There's the mic for you.
Hi, everyone. That was really great. I can't believe the volume of things that we're working on and some of the successes we've had having. I wanted to hear a little bit more about tomorrow's Supreme Court presentation, which I know Wookie is still working on even as we sit here. And I'd love to know more about what to expect because I'm hoping to attend.
So yeah, as Taylor already noted, tomorrow is our Supreme Court argument in the case where we assert that Maui County unconstitutionally violated our houseless clients' procedural due process rights. And in short, they took what we believe was a really stunning position in the circuit court, which is essentially that people, and in this case, houseless people, lose constitutional protections over their property when that property is in a public space, allegedly in violation of the law. So in other words, they were arguing that, well, okay, so let me step back first. Due process requires that before the government takes either your life, your liberty, or your property, they need to provide certain things to you. And specifically, that's notice and an opportunity to be heard. And so the question is, was there property that was deprived? And they're taking the position that no, it doesn't count as property that's protected by due process. And therefore, they could do whatever they wanted. And what they did in this case was they proceeded to seize and immediately destroy our client's property. And so we are challenging that. And by the way, the circuit court, the Judge Hammond, agreed with us that the county had violated due process by immediately, not providing a hearing before destroying the property. And so we got that win below, but the county has appealed and it's gone straight up to the Supreme Court because of the importance of the issue. And so, yeah, it's our opportunity to vindicate the rights of our clients. And, you know, I think it's really important to recognize that even though we are trying to establish that, you know, there's no exception for houseless people in the Constitution, a ruling here would also protect the rights of all people, because there are other types of property that may exist in a public space in violation of the law. And under the county's logic and reasoning, that could all be subject to, you know, seizure and deprivation without due process. And so it's a very alarming position that was taken. And so we're hoping to get the Hawaii Supreme Court to reject the position that the county took. Information about the oral argument is on our Instagram, and actually the two of our houseless clients are flying over from Maui and will be in attendance. And we are also having some of our clients in our current lawsuit against City and County of Honolulu. They're showing up, you know, to support the houseless community at large. So, you know, we really would appreciate your being in the audience, because, you know, the reality is that the justices are all human, and they're going to see whether or not the community is paying attention to this case and to the issues. And so, you know, if we can pack the courtroom, I think that you know, that would be very helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Wookie. I expect to hear a report tomorrow on how it went. So, I also want to acknowledge that our president, Nita Lopez, is actually in the Zoom meeting with us. So it must be what, 1 o'clock in Puerto Rico? So she's been a great leader for our board of directors, and she'll be back with us, I know, soon. So thank everyone for your participation. Do we have any more questions? 2 o'clock. Okay, any more questions?
That last gentleman, when was the court date? Is it tomorrow? Did I hear?
Yes, that's correct. It is tomorrow at the Supreme Court.
Oh, right on. I hope they do great. You know, it's so ridiculous how disproportionate things are in the state of Hawaii sometimes.
Well, we hope that rights will be upheld. Okay. If there's no more questions, let's visit with each other for a while. We still have plenty of food over there. There's some desserts, there's beverages. Enjoy each other's company for a while, get to know each other, and we will see you again next year, or if not, at a volunteer event somewhere. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for participating with the ACLU and helping us strengthen our work. Thank you very much.